Hey everybody, welcome back to Fiction Technician. I'm Jane, and today I'm going to be counting down my 5 favorite ideas from Save the Cat. Let's get started. Save the Cat is a book on screenwriting by the late great screenwriter Blake Snyder. It bills itself in the subheading as the last book on screenwriting you'll ever need, and is that true? I don't know, but I will tell you what, it is the first book I would consider giving to anybody who was interested in digging a little deeper into story structure. I'd give it to a novelist or a screenwriter. I'd give it to an old pro or a newbie, because this book is deep, but is easily understood. It is great ideas expressed in plain language. I think you should buy it and read it, but if you want a little taste of what you're going to get, let's get started with idea number 5, the almighty logline. Writers talk about being plotters who outline their novel ahead of time, or pantsers who fly by the seat of their pants. Well, Blake Snyder was a plotter on steroids. He believed that before you ever start writing page 1, you should first have the perfect outline. And before you ever start working on that perfect outline, you should first have the perfect logline. This level of discipline really appeals to me, and if you want to get started on it, you should know that the 4 aspects of the perfect logline, according to Snyder, are irony. Irony is one of those things that is difficult for many people to define, but basically it's when there is a gap between what you expect out of a situation and what you actually get. And it's also kind of this secret sauce of storytelling that generates deep meaning and also deep humor. The logline of Romeo and Juliet might be phrased as, the children of 2 feuding families fall in love. And this is ironic. We might expect something like, the children of 2 feuding families avoid each other, or the children of 2 feuding families don't get along. But falling in love is ironic given the position they started out in, and it's what causes all the trouble. A compelling mental picture. If I read you the logline of Romeo and Juliet, well then you can already envision some of what you're going to witness when you show up to see this play. There are going to be bittersweet love scenes, family strife, and if we wrap in 16th century Verona in there, some sword fighting can be assumed. This is important because your logline is also your elevator pitch. It's the quickie statement you can pull out of your back pocket anytime you meet somebody who might be interested in representing your book, publishing your book, buying your book. And it is important that it give them an idea of what about this story they are going to find appealing. Audience and cost. All right, here Snyder really is talking more to screenwriters than to novelists. The reason that audience and cost are paired is because this is how a Hollywood exec might do a quick profitability analysis on a story idea. The size of the audience indicates the movie's potential to make money, and the cost is, of course, the cost. For a novelist, it would be better to have an idea of the audience and scope. The audience, again, indicates the potential profitability of this idea and also how it will be marketed. And the scope indicates to you how much time you're going to spend on this idea. Do you need to do a lot of research or pick up any new skills like world building or writing action scenes? And that will allow you to do your own profitability analysis. And lastly, a killer title. Snyder's example of a absolutely killer title is Legally Blonde, which wraps in that irony, creates a compelling mental picture, and gives us an idea of what the story is and why we might want to see it. Number 4, Saving That Cat. When I talk to non-writers about this book, part of their response always includes, why is there a cat? Save the Cat is Snyder's term for a character introduction. And the way he phrases it is that the character must do something when we first meet him that shows us who he is and makes us like him and want him to win. This does not have to be a generically likable thing like saving a cat or giving a crust of bread to a poor orphan child. There are about 1.5 million ways to save the cat, but basically what you will want to do is create a moment where we can either admire your character or identify with him. I tried to do a video on this, but too long. I had to make 2, and those will be coming up over the next few weeks. Number 3, the 10 genres. Snyder groups all stories, yes, all of them, into 10 categories. He calls these genres, I would prefer to call them archetypes, because the Stories in each group are not unified so much by marketing or audience or subject matter, but more by the aspect of human nature they deal with, the primal needs they cause the characters to grapple with, and the questions they force us to ask about our own existence. Snyder's 10 archetypes are monster in the house. This can be a true monster like Godzilla, or it could be a deceptive domestic monster like the nanny in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. But either way, the theme is that there's a monster coming for you, and there's nowhere to run. Golden Fleece. In this archetype, the protagonist goes on the road searching for something, like a bereaved soldier in Saving Private Ryan, or a big score, like in a heist series like Ocean's 11. But either way, what he will ultimately find is growth and self-discovery. Out of the bottle. This genre is all about magic. It might be granted in the form of wish fulfillment, like in Big, or it might be a curse that comes down on your protagonist, like in Groundhog Day. And the theme of this genre is, be careful what you wish for. Dude with a problem. This might sound like it's a description of basically every story ever written, but really it's about an ordinary, everyman who has to deal with an extraordinary, enormous problem. The classic Dude with a Problem movie is Die Hard, but some other examples would be Deep Impact or Sleeping with the Enemy. The opposite of Dude with a Problem is the superhero archetype. This can be a literal superhero, like the Avengers, but it could also mean a person with an extraordinary ability, like Russell Crowe's character in A Beautiful Mind, or it could just be a person of extraordinary determination, like William Wallace in Braveheart. Rites of Passage. This archetype deals with the major turning points in life: adolescence, separation, middle age, grief, and even death. Why Done It? This is Snyder's name for the mystery genre, and I love even the name of this archetype because it perfectly wraps in exactly what is so cool about mysteries. Whodunit is a question of limited interest, but why done it is important because it lets us in on the dark mysteries of the human heart. The Fool Triumphant. This archetype includes movies like Legally Blonde, Forrest Gump, and Bridget Jones's Diary. Institutionalized. This archetype includes movies like MASH and Goodfellas, and essentially it is about the inner workings of groups and what happens to individuals when they submit to that group identity. And buddy love. This archetype includes buddy movies like Rush Hour and Lethal Weapon, and also every rom-com ever made, because this archetype is about two characters who start out in conflict and find out that they are better together. A lot of stories have a strong buddy love subplot, so I'll be doing a separate video on this archetype. And I'll also be doing one on Why Done It, because this is my genre, and I love it. Numbers 2 and 1 are coming up, but first I want to ask you to please smash that like button if you feel that this video is giving you value. And this is also a great time to hit that red subscribe button because we have deep dives on all of this stuff coming up over the next month. Number 2, the promise of the premise. The promise of the premise is essentially everything that is uniquely cool about your particular concept. This is the promise of the premise. And this is the promise of the premise. And this is the promise of the premise.
You know why I pulled you over?
I sped. I followed too closely. I ran a stop sign. I almost hit a Chevy. I sped some more. I failed to yield at a crosswalk. I changed lanes in the intersection. I changed lanes without signaling while running a red light and speeding.
I'm pretty sure all of these moments were in the trailers for the movies in question, and this is no coincidence. This is actually how you can think of the promise of the premise. If your book was a movie, it would have a trailer. So what are those big moments that would draw the audience in? What are the moments that would let people think, yeah, there's something there to this concept, something uniquely fun or uniquely interesting, and that you have delivered the goods? Number 1, the beat sheet. The beat sheet, the Blake Snyder beat sheet, is a list of 15 plot points that essentially tell you exactly how to plot a complete, resonant storyline from start to finish. It's got the highs, the lows, the complications, and the emotional payoff. It is a little too complicated for me to explain in detail here, but if you want to learn more, you should check out my video on Cobra Kai, where I lay out each of the beats and tell you what its purpose is in the story. I'm also working on a video that should be coming up soon on how I modify the Blake Snyder beat sheet. I've got a few little tweaks here and there that I think help clarify the major turning points in the story. If I have whetted your appetite for reading Save the Cat, you can grab a copy from Amazon with the link below. That is an affiliate link and I do get a small commission. I'll hope to see you back next time when I'll be digging into all of these topics in more detail. Check out.